Thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today, I wanted to do something interesting, which is pull in some of the parallels that I noticed between Spare by Prince Harry and Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words by Andrew Morton. Now, Spare by Prince Harry is an autobiography written by Prince Harry, as well as Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words. Although it is written by Andrew Morton, it is a biography aided in large part by her own transcripts, recordings, and firsthand accounts from her friends and family. So she did participate in secret, albeit with Andrew Morton in the production of this book. So today I wanted to talk about some of the similarities and the parallels between both books that I just could not look away from and I could not deny. I just found it to be so many really interesting parallels between both books. And I wanted to bring that here today just to kind of talk about some of my thoughts, but I am actually not going to include all of them. And that leaves room for you. Continue the conversation in the live chat or in the comment section after the video is over and let me know some of the parallels that you found as well that I didn't mention in the video. So let's get started. Once again, thank you so much for clicking on my video. If you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on that notification bell. If you are not already a member, consider hitting that join button or using the link in the description box to see what we're doing over on Patreon. I want to say thank you to everyone who views, subscribes, watches, supports the channel, and I want to curtsy to the Royal Court, my membership group. Thank you so much for all that you do. So today, I want to continue the conversation regarding Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words by Andrew Morton, and also the autobiography by Prince Harry titled Spare. I find it to be interesting that Spare actually feels like the sequel to Diana, Her True Story, while also still feeling like an original work, because it is, but also feeling like Harry's true account of the same or very similar experience that his mother had. And you wouldn't expect that, at least I wouldn't, because while the institution is the same, both Diana and Harry are two very different people, and they have two very different roles within the institution. First of all, there are many years between both books. So you would already expect, at least I would, some evolution in how the inner workings of that institution works. And I'm just going to tell you, nah. Despite all of that conversation about modernizing, not much has been modernized. So we're already going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about the fact that Diana was a woman married into the institution, and Harry is a man born into the institution and is actually in the line of succession on his own. And their situations are still very and eerily similar. So I want to get started with that conversation. Now, I am going to be talking about 11 main points, 11 main parallels. And if you have commentary, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comment section or in the live chat. Now, keep in mind, we are facilitating positive, fun, and encouraging vibes over here. While all comments are welcome, disrespect to one another or the creator is not. So we just want to keep it as a safe environment where everybody feels comfortable sharing their experiences or their feelings or their thoughts and opinions. Yeah, let's just have a good time. So first, let's start with the first parallel. Like in any good book and then its sequel, the villains are the same. Both villains from Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words reprise their role in the sequel, Spare. Charles, although lit with soft undertones from a loving son still viewing his father through the innocent eyes, still showed his stoicism and lack of caring passed down from mother to son. While Camilla is an easy scapegoat, a wicked mistress turned second wife and evil stepmother vying for power and money at the expense and health and the well-being of her unwanted stepkids. In this dynamic, she can only do what is afforded to her through the power of her husband. One might say Charles finds it easier to allow Camilla to be the bad cop in ways that he couldn't with his first wife, whose dignity and strength of character would never allow her to treat people so callously. In both situations, Charles seems keen on blaming women for his shortcomings, and while Camilla could never be mistaken for a lady, she is still a woman, so still subject to the same old tricks from an old dog. Charles, reportedly struggling with lifelong issues derived from the lack of nurturing from his mummy, has seemingly allowed his lack of true respect for women show up with every woman in his life, allegedly. Princess Anne, lifelong competition for daddy's approval. Princess Diana, lifelong and posthumous competition for popularity and in some cases to seem to want to have the last word. Camilla, a tool used to act out his rebellion against his strict mom and pa, later used again to deepen painful wounds against his wife. Duchess Meghan, media scapegoat to deflect from his and his wife's lack of popularity, and Kate Middleton, new scapegoat in a reopened war for the headlines. In his mind, seemingly, Princess Diana, Prince Harry, Duchess Meghan, Kate Middleton, and Camilla, Princess Consort, are mere tools to blanket the shrouds of his tattered ego laid bare. And in both books, his callousness and lack of caring are prevalent. Never complain, never explain. This old mantra has far more consequences than benefits, and that's never more apparent than in both Spare and Diana, Her True Story. In both books, the never complain, never explain mantra only serves to create robot figures with no real connection to their emotions, mental well being, or worse, the subjects over which they reign. For a family in constant disrepair over modernizing and finding ways to maintain relevance, this will continue to backfire. People want a fairy tale, but people don't want fake. Never Complain, Never Explain teaches its subjects that hiding abuse and withstanding unhealthy conditions is fine as long as appearances are maintained, no matter how tattered. The royals, showing themselves being nothing more than a stage play gone horribly wrong for far too long, is actually pretty tired. Prince Harry and Princess Diana were both maligned for their honesty, sans exaggeration, or persuasion of its audience, simply retelling their experiences afforded both mother and son the titles crazy, unwell, sensitive, insane, and the list goes on. And in my opinion, such name calling only serves to identify the speaker and not the subjects. Both Princess Diana and Prince Harry both sought mental health treatment on multiple occasions throughout the course of their lives, and both talked about these journeys in their books. I find it to be interesting that it seems to me that Prince Harry is currently living the life of Diana's wildest dreams. And that brings me so much solace. Both Princess Diana and Prince Harry found evolution and improvement comforting as they matured, and both came to the realization throughout this process that their place within that toxic cycle had to change. And with most situations, when you know better, you do better. And when you know better, your tolerance level for nonsense is much lower, which explains their actions after embarking on these journeys. They didn't go crazy, they got sane. Another parallel that I noticed, their lost youth. Both Princess Diana and Prince Harry seem to mourn their lost youth throughout both books. Princess Diana was married at 20 years old to a man over 30 and to an institution that seemed keen on allowing her to sink rather than teaching her to swim, all while mentally manipulating her, ridiculing her, and isolating her, and at the same time, eager to reap the benefits of having her gifts within the fold. Prince Harry has never had a normal childhood as he was born a prince, therefore entitled to security, but that's a different conversation. The tabloids have had their way with his image since before he can even remember, relegating him to the spunky, not so smart younger brother of the future king. He was essentially the media scapegoat for many years, and he fought against the idea that he wasn't smart. Although his strengths were very different, he is a very highly intelligent and strategic man, showing his prowess in combat and in the military, and in his great valiant works since then. It's really sad that neither of them got to see their childhood to the full extent, and Prince Harry never even got to have an actual childhood, as he was always in the perpetual tug of war between the institution and his loving, doting mother. She did her best to provide him with the best that childhood could offer, but when she was gone too soon, it was far too late. He would never have that childhood. The invasion of the press is heavily present in both books. From the moment Princess Diana's relationship with Prince Charles became public knowledge, she had 20 or more paparazzi following her at all times at once, detailing how she would have to ditch her own car in favor of her grandmother's to trick the voyeuristic hounds, or climb from her upstairs flat window into an alleyway using bed sheets so as not to be chased. Even going to the gym to exercise proved to be a task, with one of the actual gym managers where she was a member snuck photos of her exercising in a leotard and sold those photos to a tabloid, and he made well over six figures. Eventually, the relentless pursuit by the paparazzi and those looking to make a quick buck off the princess's image proved to be the root cause of her death. Prince Harry and Meghan have both experienced tumultuous bouts with the paparazzi. Overzealous news outlets outing Prince Harry's location during active combat, creating a very life threatening target for him, or the time Meghan's set on Suits had to be closed due to the paparazzi breaching the set to sneak photos, or chasing her down the streets of Canada, or paying her neighbors to install spy cameras to point to her bedroom, backyard, and other open windows. To most recently in New York City, nearly causing a catastrophic accident with their street gangs. Both Harry and Diana have talked about in both books how relentless the pursuit for the use of their image has caused extreme pain and agony. And while it did result in the end for Princess Diana, let's hope and pray for a different outcome for her child. In both Diana, Her True Story, and in Spare, the spirit world was very present. It brings me back to a conversation that I had in the members' live discussion panel where we talked about how the ancestors were very present for Prince Harry and for Meghan. And I thought it was such an interesting parallel to Princess Diana's book, where she used her grandmother's presence and communicating with her grandmother via medium as a strong force of guidance in her life up until the very end. In both books, they both sought guidance from the spirit world, with Harry seeking guidance from Diana directly, as well as Meghan at her gravesite. And Harry used a medium, which I thought was interesting. And then Diana actually talks about in her biography, Diana, Her True Story, seeking guidance from her grandmother through a medium, as well as astrologers and other alternative means. While Prince Harry was more skeptical at first, almost resistant to getting feedback from the medium, until later her message from Princess Diana was so spot on regarding a very private family moment. Princess Diana sought wisdom from her late grandmother via medium from the get go. She had astrologers predicting her future regularly, and she often relied on alternative health remedies for illnesses and preventative measures. She was very open minded, but that actually wasn't unlike the royal family, whereas they also used astrologers, as well as some might call them soothsayers, as well as people who predict the future, mediums, etc. Both Princess Diana and Prince Harry were extremely open minded, and it definitely showed in their evolution. In both books, there seems to be the detail of the lack of planning, preparation, and execution employed by the royal institution to integrate and train new wives marrying into the system. And by train, I don't mean train them mentally, I mean train them in preparation for the new job role, not misogyny. Princess Diana received no assistance whatsoever, nor encouragement, and only received feedback if it was negative, something she rallied against constantly to no avail. Even with Prince Harry's help, the rest of the royals did not prepare Meghan in any way, yet they opted to publicly ridicule her via nameless palace sources, fake protocol breaches, and constant encouragement of misogynoir latent headlines, speaking directly to the toxic underbelly of their supporters and sending the bloodhounds to attack her. In both situations, I feel like there is something that could have been learned from Diana, Her True Story, that obviously was not, nor applied by the time Spare rolled around. If you already understand how difficult your current tactics are when introducing new wives into the fold, and you know that because a wife literally told you outright the issues that she faced as well as the struggles that it encouraged, why on earth wouldn't you at least attempt to improve the scenario? I also find it to be very interesting that in Diana, Her True Story, someone who was tasked with preparing her was Lady Susan Hussey. and she did not. Diana actually remarked that she decided, instead of helping to prepare her for her royal duties when she first entered the royal fold, she chose to tell her the history of the palaces, the properties, all of the artifacts within them, but not the actual job duty. Fast forward, who was tasked with helping Meghan? Dot, dot, dot. We can obviously see where the cracks are in the system, yet instead of fixing them, they keep their issues right in the fold without any kind of improvement or evolution under the guise of tradition. But here's the thing: if you know that a system doesn't work and there's a chink in your armor, you do yourself and your future participants or whomever in your organization a huge service by fixing those things now. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And if integrating new wives is the thorn in your side, why not put some effort into fixing that instead of telling them what kind of pantyhose to wear and what inch heels they should have on? I think those resources and that time and attention could be spent elsewhere. Well, that I noticed was that there seemed to be a struggle for balance between duty and in health. Princess Diana and Prince Harry showed a very strong sense of duty to the crown. Diana was determined to not let the Queen down, and she said so repeatedly. She even refused to file for divorce from Charles because she said that would be letting the Queen down. On her wedding day, she promised Queen Elizabeth that I will do my very best for the rest of my life. And she really stuck by that. She actually noted that in addition to worrying about the well being of her children should she file for divorce, she also felt filing for divorce was giving up on the crown. And that was something she did not want to do. She did not want to let the Queen down. After leaving the royal family, she continued to serve others globally through unending selfless acts, making her mark in her own way and still showing the crown that she respected it as well as its monarch. Prince Harry, however, went to 2 combat tours, committed his life within the royal fold to a life devoted to serving the crown, and even after stepping back, has maintained his commitment to his country and the world through a life of service to others, something that he and his wife are vehemently aligned on and have continued to make their impact. Unfortunately, another part of both books that was eerily similar: isolation both inside and outside of the system. Prince Harry and Princess Diana both noted the isolation that comes from being the royal family scapegoat. The family seems to like to play nice in public while stonewalling in private. At least that was Princess Diana's experience. While Harry, a male royal by blood, and Diana, a female royal by marriage, had different paths, their experience was the same. Prince Harry noted the stark differences in his living situation, his clothing budget, the things he was allowed to do versus his brother, but most importantly, the way he was treated. He thought these things would improve once he got engaged and married, but he soon found out that that wasn't the case. New levels, new devils, some might say. And unfortunately, the case wasn't any different for his mother. They were both isolated within the fold, and when they decided to step back, for obvious reasons, they've been even more isolated afterwards. Something that I found quite random is Queen Elizabeth's subtle support of disruptors. Now, she didn't do this in overt ways, but it was always there in these very small, subtle ways, while still disappointing me in others. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about her very subtle support for both Harry and Diana. I found it to be interesting that Queen Elizabeth II quietly offered support, sympathy, and at times guidance to Princess Diana when she felt the most alone. And this shows up throughout the book, Diana, Her True Story. I believe Queen Elizabeth understood the struggle of being a woman in the institution, and at times in the book, when you think she would be Diana's biggest naysayer, she had a knack for showing up as a sympathetic mother in law versus the Queen. This was most apparent during Squidgygate. Throughout Harry and Meghan's struggles with the royals and the press, Queen Elizabeth II consistently made space for Harry and offered him fairness and wisdom. She was very warm with Meghan and enjoyed her time with her, often complimenting her, something you don't hear Queen Elizabeth doing a lot. She was often pictured laughing happily with both Harry and Meghan and on engagements, And if you look back, you'll see the same with Diana. In both cases, while the queen was supportive to disruptors at times, you can also see this in the history of her relationship with her sister, she was loyal first and foremost to the crown. And that, in my opinion, inhibited her from showing up fully for her family in those intimate family moments. And that had to be a really hard balance to break, but she managed. And for the last parallel that I wanted to talk about today, it was the significance in both books about breaking free. The need to break free from the fold is ever present in both books. Princess Diana struggled for years to define herself outside of being a princess in a way that would show her commitments and not simply praise her for being fashionable. Prince Harry struggled for years to find a clear direction to his life, even at times seeming to be ambivalent to life itself until he found purpose and, as he put it, someone worth living for. While both Princess Diana and Prince Harry managed to break free in their own ways, I do feel Princess Diana was cursed with being the first wife to the future sovereign, and her freedom could only go so far as long as she was alive and he lived as well. Her pioneering lit Harry's guided path to true freedom, and while her first commitment was always to motherhood, I find it to be interesting. After reading both books, it helped me to see that even from the spirit realm, she was committed to protecting her child. And her path, and leaving her story behind for him to find, left the breadcrumbs for him to find his own true freedom. Prince Harry speaks about living the life his mother didn't get a chance to, and I believe that's only half true because as of right now, I truly feel that she is living through him. It was such a pleasure putting this list together, but there were so many other similarities and parallels between both books, so I might do a part two. If you want that, let me know. In the meantime, please don't forget to leave me your thoughts and the parallels and similarities that you picked up on between Diana, her true story, and Spare, and leave those in the live chat or in the comment section. Either way, I just found this to be such a rewarding project to work on, is finding these different similarities. And although both books involve so many great tragedies, it is so beautiful to see how Harry has ended up on the other side with his beautiful family. And I think that in and of itself is rewarding. And if Diana were here to see that today, she would rejoice in it. I also believe she would be living with him or amongst him and his family, but that's just my personal opinion. I do. I think she would have gotten as far away from the royals as possible. So, in the meantime, please don't forget to leave me your comments and your thoughts on the parallels that I noted, but also parallels that you yourself have noted. And if you want a part two, yeah, let me know. That would be fun to work on. This was a very rewarding project. I think this has been my favorite video to work on in a very long time. So again, if you have not already, feel free to go ahead and like this video. And if you are not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to know whenever I post new videos, hit the notification bell. Again, I want to say thank you so much to all of my members. I really appreciate the support and everyone who supports the channel through the many different ways. It means so much to me, and it is such a pleasure to commune with all of you and to make videos. This has been so much fun. Don't forget, tomorrow we have a new live stream at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, where we will be talking about a wide array of royal topics. And tomorrow is Wednesday, so we'll be doing the community conversation segment where I respond to recordings left to me by you throughout the week. Once again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.